And good evening. Welcome to the third edition of the Central Florida Blitz. This is Monday, August 26, 2024. We'll take a look back at week one high school football in the Central Florida area. Marty Pallman, along with Joshua Wilson of FloridaHSFootball.com. Bear with me. I'm a little bit under the weather, but we're going to soldier on here tonight and get through this. And, well, Josh, because we got a lot to talk about. I mean, week one is in the books. Well, I think so. There may be some games tonight that were carried over from Friday, and
there was a couple that were sitting there that were in the books, but they're not going to come. They're not going to come around here and tonight because Mother Nature is still doing her thing.
Yeah, that's true. Here where we are in Gainesville, it's really raining hard. It has been for hours, but yeah, I don't know. As you said, there were a couple of games that were either delayed and called off at halftime. Some were canceled. I mean, one game we'll talk about in a minute was just totally canceled. And it didn't have to do with weather even. So that will...
No, you're right. And it really is, Mother Nature, usually that first 6 weeks of the season, usually we have our issues with her.
Yeah, we do. I know. And in fact, our guest tonight, Mike and I were both in Matanzas last week for as Bishop Kenny played Matanzas. He does Flagler, Palm Coast, and Matanzas football there for Bishop Kenny, and we had an hour delay there before the game even started. It was never rained, but it was lightning. Enough lightning in the area to at least delay it. But luckily, we started at 8 o'clock, and then things got moved a little faster. But still, interesting week one. We'll have to, I'm sure, look for that again this Friday. As long as we're in summertime, September, even October, we may have these issues.
No, absolutely. And, of course, as you said, our guest tonight, Mike Lischio Jr. from WNZF, he'll be on, and we'll see him here in a little bit, right, coming up around about 7:45-ish. But he's already listening in because,
right there, yeah.
Yes, he is. He's on deck, and we can see him. So, but anyways, with that said,
Blitz Lines, recapping week one of high school football.
Yes, indeed. And how about this? Lake Mary Blast Cardinal Gibbons in the Broward County National High School Football Showcase. And we're going to talk about that tomorrow night on the South Florida Blitz because, unfortunately... Yeah.
It was... Yeah, we'll talk about that tomorrow on the South Florida Blitz. Rough weekend for Florida teams, especially South Florida teams, honestly, in the national games and in this game. But you're right, Lake Mary went down there and put it to Cardinal Gibbons, 43-20, I believe.
It was
a blowout.
Cardinal Gibbons. I think it was like 44-20. I want to say. I don't have the score right. I tried to probably put it in the rundown, but but yes, Cardinal Gibbons. Yeah, I mean, it was a struggle for the Chiefs, but the Rams, Lake Mary, they're looking really good. I mean, Noah Grubbs. I mean, he has definitely been really showing his arm, and he did here in week one against the Chiefs. Down in South Florida, down in a place that South Florida is usually hostile territory for a lot of teams.
Yeah, and now for Lake Mary, they have a visit this week from Kissimmee Osceola, and then next week.
Yes.
Lakeland.
Yes.
On the schedule. So that's going to get a little harder for them. Well, actually, that was a hard enough game going down there, but that was part of the Broward County National High School Football Showcase, and we'll talk more about that again tomorrow night. The South Florida Blitz is a lot of those teams in South Florida played in that, but Lake Mary, good win for them. Meanwhile, Popka.
Over Cocoa.
Sorry,
read the green.
I'm trying to read the green. Yeah, Cocoa. I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Cocoa is on Planet Cocoa, is what we're saying tonight.
Yes, Cocoa's on a whole different story. I mean, Cocoa's on a whole different planet when it comes to dominating teams. I mean, Titusville is a good team. Titusville has been a team that has been improving now. I mean, the last couple of years, the Terriers have just really improved, Marty. But Cocoa, I mean, Ryan Schneider, what Cocoa has been doing the last couple of years, Cocoa is going to be in line to probably win that 2A title this year. I mean, everybody's got Cocoa circled to win that 2A title. It's really theirs to lose at this point. I mean, I know I'm going to catch some flack from other people around the state probably for saying that, but considering there's Berkeley Prep, there's Cardinal Mooney, there's defending state champs other than Cocoa in that classification. But when it comes to the equivalent of talent and to the scheduling, Cocoa's light years ahead.
Well, looking at the top five, and I guess you could even say the top 10. These are the Max Preps rankings statewide. 4 of the top 5 lost in week one. The only one that didn't was Cocoa.
Yeah.
7 of the top 10 lost. I mean, that was that kind of week to start the season. This is why preseason polls don't mean anything, Josh, but this is why picking games is hard this time of year. We'll tell you coming up.
Well, I'm going to pull it up here real quick from what I have on the FortHSFootball.com from the rankings. I did a top 25.
Right.
I'm going to do a top 25 every week on my own, but we have the media rankings here. And forgive Marty, he's it's trying to persevere through with the throat.
It just started last night, really. So yeah, coughing is there, but yeah, go ahead and take a look at your top 25 rankings. And
yeah, give me 1 second here. Let's the top 25 here. When I pulled it up here with the top 25 rankings, I mean, this was what Chaminade Madonna. I had number 1. They lost. ING lost. Coco. I mean,
they won.
Coco won. St. Thomas Aquinas. Lost. Miami Central lost. American Heritage lost. Miami Norland won. Lakeland won. So it tells you where this is going.
Yeah. So there, on your poll, 5 of the top 6 were beaten in week 1. So Coco will, that'll come later in the week. I think Coco will go to number 1 in that poll, even though, Chaminade and IMG lost out in Utah.
Yes.
By 1 point.
But we'll talk about that more tomorrow.
Right. So, all right.
Or tonight, actually, as I say, in the Gulf Coast.
That'll be in the Gulf Coast Blitz. Yes, that's right. IMG Academy. And then tomorrow we'll talk about Aquinas and American Heritage and Chaminade Madonna, and all of them going down.
Yes.
This last weekend in the Broward County High School Football Showcase. So, but as we continue through,
oh, did we just lose our camera? And I think we have lost our camera. There we go.
There it is.
I don't know why we're losing the camera all of a sudden. So just forgive us, because it's hooked up properly.
We'll continue in Central Florida now. Sluggish Apopka. This time we're talking about them. They have struggled. They win only 10-0 over Coy in the rain at Apopka. So the Blue Darters are 1-0, but not really very impressive.
No, not at all. And, there were some concerns about Apopka last week, and I think the concerns are rolling over here to this weekend. Honestly, Apopka did not get out of the regional bracket last year. They got too deep and they kind of faltered, but they were faltering during the regular season last year. They were struggling then. They were still struggling in the playoffs. Now they're coming in here, they're struggling. And honestly, the question is the change of the guard starting to happen in Orange County, where it's maybe not so necessarily so much Apopka, it's more about Edgewater and Jones these days. And that's what it seems like, in my opinion, where it seems to be going.
Right, exactly. So, but Apopka for now gets a victory. I know they're receiving votes in 7A for your poll there as well.
Yes, they were. They were receiving votes, and 10-0. I know, but it's a district game, so that's the one good thing for Apopka is that they're already 1-0 in their district already for this year.
Right.
So, with that said, here, how about this one, Mainland? How about Mainland? And Mainland, Marty falters here, and
how about that?
We'll talk to Mike Lischio about this a little bit here, but really, honestly, I thought, hey, you're defending state champ. You usually would take the defending state champ in a game like this, and to start the season, and they struggled against O'Galley in the preseason, and then here you are. You're already down. You're already 0-1. You're on the wrong side of the scoreboard already.
Well, not only that. There's nothing wrong with losing to Orange City University. That was a 10-2 team a year ago. They're not bad, but coming off a state championship at home in your first game, you expect to win that. Instead, they lose by 3, and now they get Coco. So we could be looking at them being 0-2 here this Friday, even though that game will be in Daytona. Right now, the way the two teams are heading, you got to think Coco would be favored to win that game as well.
Oh, yeah, I think so, too. And honestly, that'll be a game we'll talk about here coming up here later on this evening here on the show.
That's right.
And as we roll along here, Marty.
Well, another game that was, to play or not to play? Go ahead.
Yes, to play or to not to play. Jones Winter Park. There seems to be a huge debate of what's going on here. All right, Winter Park wants to get the game rescheduled. Jones wants to get it rescheduled, I believe. But I saw a date of September 3rd, but that's been pulled already. So who knows what's happening here? Is it Jones really not wanting to play the game now, or is it Winter Park not really wanting to play? Considering that Jones beat Seminole pretty soundly in the preseason, I don't know. I would love to know more what's going on. Is it just maybe trying to find the correct date? Maybe I really don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I don't know what would be wrong with next Monday, the 3rd, but I don't know. They couldn't.
Next Tuesday.
Sorry, Monday is the 2nd, Labor Day. But yeah, I don't know, other than the fact that it's 3 days from their next game. But we've seen teams do that before. And they play Monday, Friday, and then the following Monday, if there's hurricanes or different things happen, to delay or postpone games. But yeah, I don't know. To me, I'm got to think Jones probably wants to play this game because they're probably going to win. I mean, but you never know. Winter Park is a good team.
Yes.
Go on the road and not a long road trip, and that's not a very long road trip. I don't understand why they're having such problems, but that's the way that works. And speaking of teams that we talked about, mainland going down week 1. How about D-Land? I like to call them the DeLand Bulldogs losing at home to Madison County to start the season. Now, that isn't that bad, really. Madison County, we know how good they are. Probably the second best team in rural classification, maybe number 1 with Hawthorne, state runner-up last year. And they go into DeLand and they whip DeLand by 14 points.
Honestly, I was stunned when I saw that score. I'm like, well, what do I really know about high school football? I started questioning myself about that Friday night because I'm like, what do I really know? But again, it's week 1. Anything can happen in high school football, as we know. We have seen crazy things happen. We have seen a team win a state championship one year to not making the playoffs the next year. So, again, I mean, this is the fun part. It's the guessing game every year.
Week 1 is tough. Week 2 will be tough too, really.
And I think it's tougher now because the open enrollment, the transferring, everything that just keeps moving around, it just really makes it tough.
That's true. I would agree with you there. All right, finally on our Blitz lines, Seminole trying to get Robinson to forfeit. Robinson, now this wasn't because of weather. This game was postponed Friday. Robinson coming from Tampa to Sanford to play Seminole, the bus broke down.
That's what it was reported, but then they were saying it was transportation issues. So there's kind of like
a bus breaking down.
I don't know, but it really
no bus at all.
Maybe no bus at all, but it really, Seminole did from the Orlando Sentinel said Seminole had offered Robinson several dates to reschedule this game, and they have turned them down on all those dates. So, and really, I think honestly, it comes down to is that Robinson, the coach that was there last year, I think he kind of put the schedule together. And what happened is that the coach left during the off season and with Mike Williams, and now. Okay, well, you had some talent. Now some of that talent's probably gone to other area schools around Hillsborough County, and now you're left with more of a shell of a team instead. And it really, at the end of the day, it's how do you handle this? And it's like, well, maybe we shouldn't really play this game, so we're just going to blame the bus. But Seminole's like, no, not so fast, because hey, every game matters, especially the fact that MaxWest rankings matters here in this situation here. And I think we got some comments here, so. But we'll get some stuff that because tomorrow night will definitely be South Florida, so we'll definitely have stuff there. So Ash Kelper sitting a message here, but anyways,
I mean, I don't know. These to me, it's always like, I know it's a little bit farther trip coming from Tampa to Sanford, but yeah, you should play the game. And if you're not going to play the game, Robinson just has to forfeit. I mean, you're right. That's the way it is. Seminole gets the win, but I don't know what they're fighting here. But I think eventually that's what's going to end up happening. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're right.
So there's the music. That means we're going to our first water break. As you can see, time to get some water, and I agree. I'm going to get some in the water, that is, in the 2-minute break. When we come back, I guess Michael Lischio will be with us to talk Central Florida football. Marty Pallman, Joshua Wilson, here on the Central Florida Blitz. All right, welcome back as we get through our first water break of the show, and you're watching the Central Florida Blitz here tonight as Marty Pallman, Joshua Wilson now joined by our special guest. I always say your name wrong. It's Lischio.
It's Lischio.
Lischio.
Yep.
I never can get that right. I always ask. Anyway, I just
Oh, that's okay.
two or three. I just saw him on Friday over at
Trying to put it out of your mind, actually.
Yeah, well, not I guess not on this side as much, but yeah, you're right. It was as it turned out, it was a pretty quick game after the delay, but WNZF 94.9 FM, he covers Flagler, Palm Coast, and Matanzas football on the radio there, and good. I know we just talked about the other night about a lot of this stuff, so it's good to have you on the show here only 3 days later.
I appreciate you guys having me. It's good to see you again, Marty. It's been too long. Josh, it's been even longer.
Yes, it has been, but it's great, Michael. But I'm telling you what, it's a new season. Everything is, everybody started 0-0 last week. Now teams have got a record here. It's either 1-0 or 0-1. At this point now, really, outside of looking at everything, I think what the rare thing was is that Flagler Palm Coast had a bye week to start the season. Usually that doesn't ever happen. Most teams don't take the bye week on the first week, but for FPC taking a bye week on week 1, was that just more of like a scheduling coincidence for them?
It was. They kind of got backed into it. They got into the same situation last year where they had an early bye week. They were bye week last week. It was week 2 after a game with Swanee, and I felt like the early bye week actually helped them because last year Daniel Fish was hired late in the cycle. He was actually not hired until I think mid-March, so he was kind of trying to get everything together, and he kind of had to hit the ground running. So I thought the week off kind of helped him, get after a loss to Swanee, help the team regroup, and they went on a little run after that before the injury bug kind of caught up with them. So this year, when I talked to everybody at FPC, they seem to be okay with the week off. They'll have a chance to kind of get things together and have 2 weeks to prepare for a Lake Howell game. We'll be down there Friday night. Looking forward to being down in Seminole County again. Not always been the best experiences on the field at Seminole County when we've gone down there for games, but the people have always been wonderful to us. So Rich and I are looking forward to that.
Yeah, you were talking about that. You're heading down there this week, but let's look in that area. Of course, you're and I know you live there in St. Johns County, and you're right around Flagler and Volusia. What about Mainland? I mean, we talked about them some the other night. We thought there might be a little bit of a downward trend maybe because you have a new coach and all, but I don't think I expected them to lose week 1 to University, Orange City University.
That was a game I thought they had a chance to lose just because University is that good. They did a good job though. Mainland had a plan, and the plan was to keep Jermaine Hayes from beating them, and for the most part he didn't on offense, but he did have an interception. He returned back for a touchdown. Barrett Schultz, their big tight end, had a big night for them. And Malachi Walters continues to be maybe the most unsung player in the area. I mean, he's very good, and I don't think he gets enough credit for how good he is. It came down to a close play at the end, but I don't think this is time for panic in Daytona Beach. This is a very good team, and I know they're going to play another very good team this week in Cocoa, but I think Sebastian Johnson won that job, and he showed with 4 touchdown passes that he's the right guy for it. Dennis King and Christian Hudson up front, that line is going to be tough to stop. And you see how good the secondary is, because if you can keep a guy like Jermaine Hayes, he had 2 catches for 71 yards against Mainland. If you can keep a guy like that from having a big night, you're going to be pretty good on defense. And defense travels, and the offense is kind of young, but they were able to put up 28 points, and now they're only going to get better. So, I don't look at anything as any more than sometimes the other team just wins the game. University's won 10 games last year, and if they weren't in the same region as the Land, they'd probably make a deep run as well.
Michael, Mike, let's talk about some of the other teams in the region here and everything. And we got DeLand, who lost here. We got Orange City University, obviously, as we just talked about. But we got teams like Deltona and Pine Ridge and these guys here. What should we know about these guys at this particular point? That for the teams that are maybe not talked about as much.
Well, Pine Ridge has been on the way up. They're going to struggle a little bit this year. Their quarterback transferred to New Smyrna Beach, so they've got a hole to fill there. Saw Daytona in the spring game. I saw some promise there. They were able to force 4 turnovers against FPC that night. So, this is an FPC offense that I think is going to be pretty high flying this year as well. And as for DeLand, I talked about this with Marty during the game, before the game Friday night, that I think a lot of people are looking past DeLand because they lost a lot of talented people. And I know losing guys like Javon Ross and MJ Smokes and TJ Moore are hard to replace. But Rick Darlington's a good coach. I think the thing that surprised me the most, though, was not that Madison County beat them, because obviously Madison County is a great team as well. But the way they did it, they put up 400 yards of rushing. I would expect that Madison County be effective to run the ball, and I know there was a lot of guys to replace them that DeLand defense, but 400 yards really surprised me.
No, absolutely.
All right, that is that's a tough number to hear. You're right for DeLand, and you mentioned Mainland too. They get Cocoa this week, but meanwhile, on the other end, St. Augustine, who nearly beat Mainland last year. I know this is probably a sore subject for the state.
You know what? I have friends that, obviously I'm a St. Augustine alum, but I've got a lot of friends over at Mainland. If anyone was going to do it, I'm glad it was Mainland that beat St. Augustine. Not that I'd ever want to see my alma mater lose, but if anybody had to do it, I was glad it was those guys.
Yeah, you say you guys are heading to Lake Howell this week. What are you expecting from Flagler, Palm Coast, and your opponent this week? What do you know about Lake Howell?
So Lake Howell runs a single wing. They had a balanced attack last week, which is not what they want to do. They want to run the ball. They want to control the clock. They want to keep the ball out of Hayden Hayes, the FPC quarterback who just transferred his hands. They want to make sure that the baby bus, Marcus Mitchell, FPC running back who ran for 200 yards against Daytona in the spring game, they want to keep him out of the game. But last week, Haggerty was able to get them behind schedule, get pressure on them, and make them have to play more of a balanced game. And when they did that, Haggerty was able to take advantage of that. So we'll see. They'll be prepared, though. I think that Lake Howell is another team that, most years you would think is someone that's overlooked, but I think they are headed in the right direction. They've got a new coach this year, so I expect it to be a tough game for them. The X factor in the game, I think, is going to be, as always, the FPC defensive end, Colby Cronk, coming off a double-digit sack season. He's an NC State commit, big 6'3", 260-pound defensive end. And then Stacy Mitchell, the other defensive end for FPC, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with as well. So I look for that game. It's going to be a good game, but I think FPC probably ends up winning in the end. I'm not a big prediction guy, so I don't want to go that far, but I think that Colby Cronk and Stacy Mitchell up front, Zayden Green in the linebacker, R.J. Watson, the corner, I think there's just going to be too much to deal with for Lake Howell. But on the other hand, they're single-wing teams. They're hard to defend, and maybe that's another reason the week ends up being a blessing in disguise, is that you have 2 weeks to prepare for the single wing instead of one. So it should be a good game. I can't wait to get out there.
No, absolutely. And looking at the rest of the season ahead, what are some of the big games that you're looking forward to? I mean, outside the Potato Bowl later in the year.
Well, we've got Mainland coming to FPC next week. That should be a good, or not next week, the week after that. Well, I guess it is technically next week. This week, of course, they have Cocos, but Mainland's going to come into that FPC game battle tested, and then there's DeLand comes to FPC later in the year. But the big one, besides the Potato Bowl, is actually the week before. Spruce Creek comes to town, and that could have district implications. That district is very tough. That 7A4 district is very tough, and that could be a huge game when Spruce Creek comes to Palm Coast on October 25th.
No, absolutely, and that is going to be huge. And of course, hopefully, maybe one or both teams make the playoffs again this year. That would be the big hope, right?
That would be the hope, and hopefully they don't have to go too far. Menendez was able to upset Matanzas late 14-12 in that season, and all of a sudden Matanzas won from a 3 seed and looking like they were going to host a home game to potentially having to go out to Gulf Breeze, and we were kind of worried about that. We kind of split the difference. We ended up in Tallahassee, but in that region, you don't want to be on the road because you can end up being a long, long way from home come November 8th.
That's right.
And the other thing, it's not Metro Suburban anymore. It's standard classifications back again, and that's what makes it even tougher because you just never know who you're going to be on the other side of the ball, who's going to be your opponent on the other side.
So, that is for sure. So especially in Region 1.
Right. We were talking a little bit about the open divisions there a little bit the other night, weren't we? The new playoff.
Yeah, that's coming in about 2 years' time.
2 years. Okay. Yeah.
So not this year, not next year. It'll be phased in about a 2 year time. The change this year was the rural classification.
Rural, right.
Well, there was an interesting thing in that. The Daytona Beach News Journal had an article, I'm sure it was all the USA Today affiliated papers, that said, based on where the Max Prep rankings are week 1, who would match up in the playoffs. And you had a first-round matchup of Chipley at Pahokee, which in the rural classification would mean Chipley would be making the 473-mile trip to Pahokee in the first round, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. I pulled it up on the map because I wanted to know how far it was, and Google Maps actually suggested that instead of drive, I should drive to West Palm Beach, take a flight to Atlanta, and then fly to Panama City, and then go from there. That was the shortest. That would save me about 4 hours. So I'm not sure I'm a big fan of this.
But I will say this, and this is the one thing, and there's one caveat, and I think it's behooved the people pay attention, is that what you see on maxpress.com, it may be closed, but what is going to be on the FHA.com website is what's going to be it. And that's the thing, because what MaxPreps doesn't count for is forfeits. What the FHA is going to have MaxPreps do is count for forfeits, which guarantee every year you will see a handful of forfeits, and that can sway a playoff ranking real quick like.
And one thing I do like about the MaxPrep system being utilized more is it's going to take into account a lot more of these out-of-state matchups. It's going to factor those in. It's going to calculate a lot more of those matchups fairly. So when you're seeing these matchups like we had in the Broward County Classic, those are going to be games, even the teams that lost, that those are going to help them in the rankings at some point because they're playing high-quality, nationally ranked opponents.
No, absolutely. And Mike, I can tell everybody where to find you on the social media and where to find you on the radio.
So I'm at Football County 1 on Twitter. We are on WNZF 94.9 FM in Palm Coast. You can reach us on the Flagler Radio app, and we are on the Flagler Radio YouTube channel Friday nights broadcasting our games. We have the Rich and Mike Sports Show on Saturday mornings on the same platforms. So you can find me there. And, if you want to see a great football broadcast, I'm not biased at all, of course, come on down to Football County and tune in.
Absolutely. Well, Michael, we appreciate you joining us here on the Central Florida Blitz, and we'll have you back on at some point again as the season progresses and as we get towards the playoffs, and appreciate you taking that time with us.
Thank you, guys. Marty, get well soon.
All right, thanks.
All right, that was Michael Lischio from WNZF joining us here on the Central Florida Blitz, and definitely appreciate him joining us.
I'm not biased, but he does a really good job. I mean, I was, we were sitting literally down 2 seats from him the other night, and I really enjoy listening to him. And they have a video broadcast as well as radio there at. They kind of switch off, like I said. Matanzas last week, Flagler Palm Coast was off. Now they'll do the FPC games. And he is St. Augustine Sports. That's right. And a graduate of St. Augustine. We'll talk more about the Yellow Jackets in the North Florida Blitz. I almost forgot that the border is St. John's
and Flagler County.
Flagler, I know.
But sometimes you have to just get it in.
Yeah, I forgot. I started talking about St. Augustine, but yeah, we appreciate Mike and a lot of the work that he does. They've been doing it for a long time in that area,
yes,
in Flagler County and around those spots. And it was an interesting week 1.
Yes, for sure.
So we'll come back after this. Well, our pick 6 here for week 3 from Central Florida, week number 2 of the season coming up this Friday. So we'll take a look at our picks from last week, which were rough, and try to do better this week when we return. All right, welcome back. Marty Pallman, Joshua Wilson here with you on the Central Florida Blitz, as we are appreciating Michael Lischio for joining us from WNZF 94.9 FM there in Palm Coast. And now, as we will do every week here on the Central Florida Blitz, it's time
for the fan question of the week.
For the fan question of the week.
You're trying to get ahead of here, Marty?
Yes. You're running the rundown. I'm looking in the wrong spot. Yes.
The green is highlighted. Yes.
Fan question of the week. Of course, it's green. Of course. Why did I forget that? Anyway.
But we do actually have a couple of, we do have a question here, and this one actually will be more appropriate here to pop this question in here. Going to his first SSA game Friday, Mark Cannon asks, what can you tell me about Umatilla and Mount Dora Christian? Well, Mount Dora Christian has been a pretty good team. They won the 5A division bracket last year for the SSAA. So Mount Dora Christian, they've been a pretty good team. They're 2-0 right now on the season.
Yeah,
so
they're new to that as well.
And Umatilla, they're new to the SSAA, as in they're in the SSA Atlantic League, and I know they won last week. I don't know if they won this past week. I don't know if weather impacted. I hadn't looked at Umatilla specifically, but Umatilla, they're a team that is trying to improve here, and but Mountain Dora Christian's definitely a team that I would keep an eye on and take a look at, and that's a good game to go watch.
Yeah, they've always been pretty good, Mount Dora Christian. That program has been pretty competitive for about probably 15, 20 years now. So yeah, that'll be an interesting game. I would probably lean towards Mount Dora Christian, but obviously you never know in those games. And boy, one team. Well, we'll talk about that tomorrow night. Sorry, I keep getting ahead of myself. But yeah, well, that should be a good game to go see over Mount Dora this Friday night.
No, absolutely, and with everything. But if you got a question for us, you can submit it on here or submit the question to football@FloridaHSFootball.com, and we'll take your questions here on the show each and every week. And with that said, Marty, how about this?
There it is. I was waiting for that music to start, and I'm like, nope, we're not there yet.
No.
It's time for
the pick six.
2
of the pick six.
Yeah, actually, right. Well, look at the results from week 1.
And with that said, Marty 1-4.
Ugh.
I'm 2-3, and
rough,
with that said, I have to do this.
Yeah, do it. It's deserved. Well deserved.
Yeah.
Definitely deserved this week. So
yeah,
we have to, we have to do better this week.
Yeah, we do have to do better this week. And boy, do I need to get you another cough drop, Marty?
Only one more show tonight after this.
Yes, and we got 2 tomorrow.
We're doing 4 in a row. Yeah.
So yes. With that said, Marty, all right, let's look at our season results actually before we actually get into our games here. And you're 6-5 on the season. I'm 6-5 on the season here on the Central Florida Blitz in terms of picks.
We are about as mediocre as we can be after 2 weeks. So not quite 500 because one game got postponed. That the Jones Winter Park game was when we picked. So we only have 11 games so far, but. Yeah, let's try to do better this week. Week 1's always kind of tough anyway, so.
All right, how about this game? Osceola Kissimmee at Lake Mary. That's our first game up on the board. And Marty, on this game, I mean, Osceola, they looks like they're showing some signs of improvement. Took down Treasure Coast 21-7. I mean, a game that was actually weather delayed. But Lake Mary, again, we talked about Lake Mary early in the show, going down the Cardinal Gibbons, beating Cardinal Gibbons pretty handedly in that Broward County National High School Football Showcase. And Lake Mary, Noah Grubbs, that's a team that's going to be hard to beat for any team right now.
Yeah, I see Lake Mary winning this game. I think Lake Mary is a team that's going to definitely contend for a state title. And big win to go down to Fort Lauderdale and beat Cardinal Gibbons, who's always tough at home, and beating them soundly. And now coming back home, you're right, Osceola, pretty good team. They always are, yes. But I would take Lake Mary at home here.
Okay, as you see here on the rundown, you see Marty's pick has come up, and you will see my pick come up next. And I'm going with you, Marty, here. I'm going Lake Mary as well in this game. And honestly, to be honest with you, there's just no other. If Osceola wins, that'd be a huge big win for them, and probably an upset.
Yeah, it would be. It would be a pretty big upset, but we're going with the home team this time, Lake Mary, and I think probably like a pretty good pick as well. All right, next up,
Heritage at Seminole.
It's a good one. Seminole, of course, didn't get to play last week due to the Robinson bus issue. Apparently, we said we had a comment that the AC broke in the bus, which is understandable.
We'll bring that comment up here from Don DeGrant. I can say. I'm hoping I'm not butchering that. Sorry, AC Don. But yeah, AC supposedly broke. Don, been a longtime follower of FloatHSFootball.com. Appreciate you commenting there on X/Twitter.
Yeah, so if that's what happened, then, understandable. But now Seminole has to open against Palm Bay Heritage, who, by the way, took out their rival Palm Bay. What was it? 40.
It was like 44-0 or something. It was ridiculous.
I know Palm Bay may be a little down this year, but that's a pretty good win for Heritage. But now they got to go on the road over to Sanford, over Seminole County, and well, Seminole was ready to go last week. They're definitely going to be ready to go this week, and I'll go with the Seminoles.
Yeah, the Seminole fighting Seminoles, I would say.
At least maybe one Seminole team will win this week if they win, but Seminole, I have them winning this game.
Well, Marty, I have the same pick here, and I am going Seminole as well on this gun. And I tell you what, I mean, if Heritage wins, that'd be a huge win for them. But I am going with Seminole here for the pick this week.
Okay.
All right, our game number 3 is Cocoa at Mainland. Cocoa 1-0, Mainland 0-1.
Yeah, I don't feel as good about this game as I did a week ago.
I don't either.
About how good it was going to be. Although I still think Mainland at home will be tough. I mean, they'll be tough.
Yes.
But now, after seeing how the season has begun for both teams, and Cocoa just rolled Titusville, again, who was a playoff team a year ago, I got to say, even on the road, I like Cocoa to win this game.
All right. Well, Marty, I am with you about Cocoa. As we talked about, Cocoa is on Cocoa Planet Cocoa.
Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Yes.
And Cocoa is just a team that they're gonna be hard to beat. I mean,
yeah, this might be the best team in Florida.
I mean, Cocoa's got IMG Academy coming up here, I think,
next
week. And as Quarter Canyon showed, IMG Academy is beatable, and we'll talk about that in the Gulf Coast Blitz. But heads up, I'm going Cocoa too.
All right, sounds good. Cocoa on the road. We go 2 for 2, 3 for 3, same picks so far as we head to the 4th game. Interesting matchup here. We just talked about Orange City University actually 1-0.
So I don't know how I picked that thing, but they're 1-0. Okay. Sorry, that's my fault. And then when I did the whole rundown, but
now North Miami comes to Orange City. They won their opening game, but this is a little bit of more of a test, I think, for North Miami than they had opening week. But University getting to come home after a huge win over Mainland, and I think the University. I think they're a team we're going to be following all season. I'll take University to win that game.
And I'm going to go with the same pick here, Marty. I'm going University as well. Sorry, if Larry Bluestein, you're watching, I'm sorry about your North Miami Pioneers for the pick prediction.
He's a grad there, right?
Yes.
I should have known that. All right,
yep.
Well,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Luckily, we're not on the South Florida Blitz doing that pick, but
no.
All right, so game number 5.
The First Academy of Orlando at Edgewater. And Edgewater,
another team that didn't play last week.
Yeah, their game was rescheduled too. And honestly,
was it Wakaiva?
Yes, and that game has been rescheduled. And weather has been an impact down there in Central Florida. And as we said, the first 6 weeks of the season, you know what happens. Mother Nature is going to play her hand somehow, some way. The first 6 weeks, usually.
I guess that's true.
That's about half of the season right there.
That's true, through the end of September, basically.
And everybody's like, oh, well, we should just move the season around or do something to try to avoid all this. And it's like, what are you going to do? You can't move football season around.
Yeah, you can't. You can't do that in Florida or anywhere, really, but especially here.
Yes.
All right, so, like you say, Edgewater...
I was going to say, Edgewater, honestly, with this, is that, hey, First Academy, they already went up to Tennessee, won, and they won Lipscomb Academy, I want to say. That's
Lipscomb,
the name. Lipscomb Academy. Yeah. I got it right now.
That's right. They went on the road. And, as you say, Trent Dilfer's old school. Now he's at UAB, but he was coaching there before. So
yes.
But a good win for First Academy. It is, but...
First Academy is up the schedule this year. Like, really up the schedule. Of course, they missed the playoffs last year.
Well, and they've definitely upped it with playing Edgewater. And, you got to think, again, Edgewater, a team that thought they were going to start last week. They already made that trip to England and won the game week before against NFL Academy. They'll be ready to go. And, again, I like Edgewater at home.
Well, Cam Duke will have his team ready to go. The Edgewater fan base will be fired up. I mean, if you haven't seen a game at Edgewater, go do it because they have a big, huge fan base. And, they're right there in College Park. You can't beat that. And for you, you're going Edgewater. I am going Edgewater.
Literally across the street from Bishop Moore.
Yes.
They're literally like across the street from each other.
Yes.
Bishop Moore Catholic High School. But yeah, so we'll go with the home team again. Edgewater. Both of us, we're 5 for 5 so far. We have the same picks. Let's see if that changes with our 6th game. Berkeley, South Carolina.
At Winter Park.
Winter Park still 0-0.
And I somehow screwed that up too.
That's okay. That's all right. But they have not. They were supposed to play Jones last week, and that game was postponed.
I mean, at this point, here you go. Berkeley, South Carolina. The head coach is Eric Lodge, who used to be the head coach at Stanford Seminole.
There's your connection.
And there's your connection to this game here, why it's on the picks here. So we're definitely got this interesting. But playing at Showalter Field, I mean, everybody knows, especially for a team that is not familiar with Showalter Field. I mean, Eric Lodge is, but his team is not familiar with that. Okay, well, all right. This could be a close game, but Marty, who are you going with in this game here?
Well, again, I've already been caught with my pants down so far with taking Florida teams, but I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to take Winter Park, as you said. Showalter Field is a interesting place to play.
We have broadcasted some games there before.
Yeah, we did a game against Apopka one time, regional final, I believe.
That was during COVID year.
That was. We were up outside in the rain, I remember that night. But
yes, it was.
But yeah,
and I'm going Winter Park.
Yeah, we're gonna go with the Wildcats, Winter Park at home. So,
well,
we have the same picks this week. So I hope they go well, because if they don't, we're in trouble.
Yeah, we'll be in massive trouble and everything. But all right, comments from the fans and final thoughts. And
yeah, I think we got to most of what the fans our comments from this show.
But yeah, this is I mean, it's hard to believe we're already week 2. I mean, the season's going to go quick on us. I hate to say that. I hate to say that, but it's going to go quick.
But you're right. Before you know it, we'll be in it'll be playoff time. It'll
be Christmas.
Where'd the season go? Yeah. Well, that's true.
And there goes the camera again. I don't know why the camera's just acting up. I'll have to fix that before the next show here.
Well, there it's back. But we'll go ahead and sign off. It is 8:15, so we appreciate everyone watching tonight. You're watching tonight as well on Twitter X, on Instagram, also TikTok and Facebook, as well as YouTube. Josh, talking about YouTube.
Yes, follow us on YouTube at Florida HS Football. Click that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to get updates. Also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok. You can follow us all on those social media platforms at Florida HS Football, except for X, it's at FLA HS Football. Hit that QR code, download the FloridaHSFootball.com app, and get all your high school football news, scores, and everything else there on the FloridaHSFootball.com app. All right, we'll be back here at 8:30 for the Gulf Coast Blitz. For Marty Pallman, I'm Joshua Wilson. Have a good night. We'll see you soon again.